Hello, hello. Um, Man, I'm not really sure what we do here. I mean, we keep going up. We play the trend. My guess is that we're probably heading to this like 87 to 90 area. That'd be my guess. But hmm. It feels a bit odd trying to do anything here after such a large upside candle. I mean, I'd like to see a break of this consolidation in the new 15, ideally, to play around, just to give us confirmation. Or we'll probably head back down to that VWAP on NQ, would be my guess. So let's see what happens into the new 15, and hopefully that gives us an entry. But the trend is very clearly up. I just don't know if we're going to need to come down to test previous structure a bit, or if we're just going to be able to keep going. But 90s feel pretty easy on ES here. Good open so far on NQ. Just momentum right now. Into our 87 here on ES. Big retrace off of that sell. Big seller sitting at 600s. What happened to my music? Let's see if we can find a bid here. I'm watching this 50 to 38 area to see if we can find a buyer here. Yeah, that's what I'm watching. Let's see if we can get back over 50 and then bid, or if this is gonna offer and hold. We want them to eat this thing up here, absorb it all. Good bounce on ESPOC here at our PVZ. Flipping back above 50s now on NQ. Russell bouncing VWAP. See if we can get a strong secondary here above 50 for buyers on NQ for longs. 50 is where the bid rests. Hmm. This is not all that convincing. Give me some more. We got to see Russell find a low here, boys. It's a lot of effort being exerted here and not a lot of movement. Could bounce on ES so far again at R74s. Just waiting on Russell to get a bit more. NQ is still just being absorbed into 50. No change there. Need break it down trends. U15's in 40 seconds. I'm hoping that that allows for us to get a directional decision. This is still just very two-sided on NQ. Nothing very playable yet. I don't mind this area, but it's too volatile for it to be a good scalp yet. We can flip 60s. We're in an okay position. If we continue to absorb into 45 to 60 on NQ, then I don't really think there's anything here yet. ES continuing to bounce at our pivot, no change, but just holding POC as resistance right now. So that's like your first target here between our two pivots. Need to very clearly see something more, or again, like we'll just continue to absorb into 45 to 60 on NQ. Sell side wise, we're gonna need to flip this guy here. Oh, this is gonna come down like so. Just probably put this at 61. This feels like where our offer's resting right now. Got so much liquidity below us that we can push into.
Voice.
RTY and ES still flat. NQ is the only thing that's falling, and that's with NVIDIA. Just keep an eye on that 7450 on ES. If that continues to bid, then nothing really to do here. 74 to 82 is our range on ES. Russell just continuing to bounce view up. And key sellers just very clearly sitting at 45 to 60. For a reversion trade back down to view up. Or 16.
Goldman Sachs sees global economy growth of 2.8% next year.
Are you talking about like on the 15? I mean, none of my view up say 416. My session view up says 500. Just where our target is.
TikTok owner ByteDance are on track for $50 billion of profit this year.
A lot of profit. As we push down into this 500, 510 area, this is your first risk off if you're playing off of this 45 to 60 into our VWAP reversion, as well as our liquidity that's here. Has to be your first risk off. RTY is still sideways, just bouncing off at VWAP, no change. ES still just at our 74s. We want to see our offer lower once more here. Ideally into like 26 to 40 for a lower high off of this. So we're going to keep an eye on like an offer into here now off of this is a bounce for one more leg down, and we can look for a continuation potential as we just are fixing structure. We'll see. We're just getting into this liquidity now. A lot of potential here. Basically, NQ is just pulling back while ES and RTY are stabilized from a lack of structure, right? So there's definitely more room potentially on NQ if we need to retrace more of this candle, but it feels like NQ and ES and RTY are just like sideways while NQ slowly melts down until we get back to an area where there wants to be an active bid. Right, it's just kind of like melting. But like there's no like shift in our market conditions at all. So it just feels like a reversion to liquidity before there's an active buyer who's like, yeah, this is enough of a discount for me to want to engage again for another continuation up. So like what I'm basically getting at is at no point yet have we seen anything that's like overly bearish, other than that the high at 600, right? Like very clearly a seller there. But now we're just looking to see like how far we're going to need to pull back before we can continue on our way. If Russell and ES start to break down further, then our narrative can change a bit. But right now, like to me, I'm just playing around this 45 to 60. There's very clearly sell side up there that's trying to shift us down, and we have lots of structure, or a lack of structure below us that we can pull back into for sure. But I need to see us flip our short-term VWAP off of RTH, and then we can go for the ETH VWAP down at like 475. Oh, sorry, not 475. What's our 15-minute? Like 420? Yeah, 425. We just need to see how we act here now that we're pushing into target. Again, great first risk off. We've now done our full PT off of our 45 to 60. And we'll watch to see if this can continue on our way. If we can flip this, then we can look for a move down for a secondary. But I would need to see show a bit more on the sell side here. Just leave runners, I guess. I'm gonna mark 75s here. This is a good secondary target. And then, of course, just our 42s, and then our 425. So this is kind of our reversion area right now, down here. Reversion. This is target 2. Taking off a little bit more risk here into 75.
Ukraine's top negotiator confirms that we will hold negotiations with the US team today. Keep in mind, we did see reports that US's top envoy Witkoff was meeting with Ukrainian leadership as well as some European counterparts.
And then target 3 will be again just into our POC from the upside
Ukraine's top
candle.
negotiator says I held
well as
preliminary
our,
consultations with European colleagues ahead of the talks.
POC from our mother bar. My average is 37.
Trump on Truth Social says insurance companies are ripping off America. Healthcare money must go directly to the people, and the Democrats must get on board.
So after we got our initial pop here, this is where I looked to play it down. And we've eaten through this liquidity now. RTY still flat, ES still flat, just holding our pivot. The liquidity has now been eaten up for our pullback into our VWAP. There's potential for a reversal here. We flip here. Watching our 510. Bid is sitting at 507. Watching this as we push back to see if we flip here. You want to see the bid try to put in a higher low now that we've eaten through this liquidity, and we're watching to see if this now holds for a rotation back up to our original offer. I hate that these are showing up here. That's what the hell. Watch for an attempt at a bid here. I'm still just staying on my short, but there's potential for a buyer to try to show. We want to see a flip of that POC at 510. Yeah, I mean, me either, bud. But Russell's still holding, so I'm a bit worried that it might not happen. Trying to keep an eye on this area here. Based off of POC to value. We've got to flip below 70s. Or again, like the bid is just going to be here. RTY still holding our big pivot, no change. ES still holding our big pivot, no change. into our value of our previous candle here. Again, 75's just holding, no change there. Very, very clear bid down below. Back to my original average here. If we look back below 10s, I might consider trying to take a short if we see Russell also show weakness. But other than that, it just feels like a rotation up. I'm watching for a offer and push below, see if I can get back in or if this stops me out. I'm stopped above 45. I'll add below 510. Right now it's just break even on my runner. RTY still holding view up. Yes, holding a higher low. Good job. Again, I'm stopped above 45 to reevaluate. Just back into our original offer, but I don't want anything to do with it until we either flip or push back down. This is POC of our on our daily here, but I'm a bit skeptical if sell side is able to hold with RTY and ES still showing interest. Again, this is just like we just went for our liquidity here, which is why these were our targets here on our push below, and now we're just waiting. There's potential you can still play it off of the 45 to 60, but until we see Russell and ES fall, I think that it's not a great trade. I think bid is going to really try to step up here. all these messages. What is going on? Again, I see our pivot above. It's the same short as before, but I am waiting. I'm not looking to re-engage until we figure out what we want to do off of a secondary move. This is still our very clear offer here into our PVZ, but I'm thinking that it'll probably just be a pullback and then a flip above rather than a good short continuation. As of yet, we'll see. Need to see a bit more. Either like a very clear flip above, I'll look for longs, or this holding is our offer, and then flipping below again for a strong secondary. Until then, like it feels a little no man's landy. So I'm just gonna let this play out in between until we figure out which way we want to actually head. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the divergence where ES was able to just kind of like maintain our pocket, where we're just holding our two pivots. It's not making exactly bearish. Same thing with Russell, just kind of holding here. I want that to figure itself out before we go crazy. Overall trend is still up. We just got our pullback into our liquidity pocket, right? So pretty clear bid down there. Let's now not go insane up in the highs. Just because there's supply here doesn't mean that the overall trend isn't up. Where's my music, man? What's going on? Into our VWAP here again. Off the session, ES into POC. RTY is still holding our low, no change. Watching to see if we get a very clear reoffer here for a sell side entry for a secondary move, or if this is going to maintain and there's going to be no change. Again, RTY is holding the only area that I care about. I'll even change the color for you to green. It's our big pivot. Let's see what we do here. New 15s have opened. Should be looking for your first little bounce here at 484, and then we might get a reoffer of the same entry at 512, 510. We'll look to see if we get that continuation down, or if this is all we get. RTY still sideways. ES still holding where it needs to, no change. Watching for a reoffer, and then ideally NQ can start to lead. Let's see. 484 here. And then we'll watch for our lows to be taken. Held my first contracts there into 84. Trade is now risk-free, 1-to-1. Secondary target here at our 70. Liquidity resting there, taking off secondary risk. See if we can get to our reversion target, or if these lows continue to hold. RTY is doing a whole lot of nothing, Ty. Just gotta watch to see if we can flip pivot or not. Such a big area. I'll be so much more confident in the short if RTY can start to flip and then hold. Until then, right? It just feels like we're reverting. And NQ's just pulling back to fix structure while that's happening. That's the thing. That's why like the short's fine, is because like we know that there's such a big ass seller up there. Again, like we've labeled it as supply. We know where that is. It's that 45. But I'm playing the secondary because that's the one that has the most, it just makes the most sense to me. And then we're just playing it back down. This is just slowly melting to fix structure while RTY and ES are sideways. Which is fine. These are good scalps, but until we see like RTY and ES actually break down, we're not going to see a huge amount of speed in our moves. It's just going to be like this slow crawl back down until we find enough liquidity to for buyers to be like, oh yeah, that was a great discount, and then we can flip our big pivot over 60s and then continue on our way. So I don't know. I mean, there's not really a great longing opportunity on NQ unless you're willing to hold just for, you know, the entire potential gap fill, or not gap fill, mother bar fill to the downside. I don't know. You just kind of have to wait. Like, again, at the end of the day, like nothing about this yet isn't just like a flag, right, into our reversion, and then we continue upwards. But that doesn't mean that structurally we're not very clearly putting in lower highs from our clear seller at 600s, and then our very clear seller at this 45 to 60, and now a very clear seller here at our 510 to 530 pivot, right? So we're very clearly putting in lower high, lower high, lower high. And then we're just going to come back down into this previous liquidity where we chop sideways, right? And then we'll look for how we interact here into this balance. But like, am I looking for more than this? No, that's why it's called the reversion target. And then from here, we'll watch to see if we then flip this and then can, you know, build above our supply, or if we're going to get back into our previous balance, which was this 410 to 340. You know, I don't have that answer yet, but this at least feels pretty obvious to me about what we're looking for. It's like, have we been able to shift anything structurally? No, like sell side's still just sitting there. Do I want to play off of that edge again? No, not really, especially after this low. But if we see a very clear, if we still see interest into it, and then we look below, and then we hold a lower high, holding our pivot, then I want to play, right? Which is what we talked about. And that pushed us down into our lows here again. There was very clearly liquidity. And then if we can flip that, we should see one more leg into here, and then we can figure out what we want to do. If that's going to then lead up, awesome. If not, right, it'll be okay. But that's why we've taken off our profit into here. And then we're watching to see how we pull back into this. As such. Yo, what's up, Adrian? Whoa, my power just flickered. Uh-oh. Why is it so foggy in California? What's going on? Radiation fog is what it's called. A dense, low-lying radiation fog is stretching 400 miles across California, creating an unusual winter weather condition. Despite the name, radiation fog has nothing to do with nuclear radiation. It forms when moist ground cools rapidly after sunset, causing water vapor near the surface to condense into a dense, low-lying cloud. So you're actually just in a cloud. The fog is also known locally as Tule fog. I don't know how to say that word. Tule. Named after the Tule reeds that thrive in California's wetlands. The silver lining, radiation fog helps the Central Valley's fruit and nut trees enter dormancy and protects buds from too much sun. Huge. Huge for the nuts, even. Interesting. You're just like living in a cloud. Yeah, right. It's crazy. Super dewy. There's Sparrow. Lows were taken, but RTY is still sideways. ES still holding our pivot. Nothing really here yet for a continuation trade. Just holding our lows. There's so much liquidity down here on NQ. It's going to be a bit interesting. Everything from like 470 to 430 is just like potential for our bid to kind of like really step in here. This 470 being our value high of that mother bar candle, our 450 being our POC of said candle. Like anywhere in here is potential for our low, right? And then our 410 is our value low of that candle. So anything in this range to me feels like a potential for said bounce, right? Which is why we're getting at these reactions off of these lows so far. But it doesn't make for anything really all that exciting for continuation on, from our short. It's very hard for us to do much more at this point, just because everything else is holding, right? There's not really much for us. Well, everything else holds. There's nothing here short-wise on NQ until we see RTY and ES lose momentum again. Just a bounce off of our reversion zone. We'll look for the same as before, a push back into supply, and then our reaction. You have to understand that everything is just oscillating, right? So as we come back up into our highs of our oscillations, we can watch for a loss of momentum again. And then we can look for the look in and then the look back below. And then we can look to play this back down if it's going to happen again. But remember, like if RTY and ES have momentum still, like there is not a great short opportunity. You have to wait for the look in and then the lower high and then the reoffer. We're playing secondary moves. We're not trying to be we don't need to have to the tick entries on indoor edges. We can be smart, right? Because we know that we're in an overall uptrend. We know that we're still holding our mother bar. We know we're holding where we need to. So don't get carried away trying to be overly accurate and then end up just like shorting for no reason, right? Like we want to make sure that we have opportunities present and that we have areas to play around. If you're shorting just into this area and we know that supply is above, what are you going to do? Just hold now for this entire move while we're just chopping here? No, you want to wait for a reaction. You want to then play off of said reaction, and then we can play it down, right? So just keep that in mind. It's like we are playing off of reactionary buyers and sellers and then playing around them. If we don't see what we want, then we don't take the trade. We don't just buy and sell pivots blindly. That is not our job. That is not who we are. So let's see if this bid can hold our POC, or sorry, our flip of our sell. Hold this as a supportive pivot and then look up. Or if this is going to offer again from our supply with a loss of momentum on both ES and RTY into our highs, allowing for another trade off of this pivot. We'll see. Right now, you're watching to see if the bid can hold. We can see there's this liquidity here on footprint. And we are watching to see if we can flip and hold this as supportive, or if we push back through and then rotate back down with a loss momentum across the market. Remember, it's all about initial reactions and playing off our areas of interest. Did we short 45s again? No, we didn't, right? We waited for the look below, and then we shorted off the hold for the reversion back down. Can you play off this area? Sure. But like it's a lot of risk here, right? It's a big area. I'd much rather play off of this area, which is half the size of this overall risk, right? I'd much rather play off of a smaller pivot if I can, because that limits my risk in the market. Can you just short a random edge? Yeah, you can, but it's not going to feel as great. That's for sure. Supply is where we're looking for initial reactions. You can take off your first risk if you're playing off of our pivot as we
According to
push into our
lawmakers,
45.
DeepSeek
We'll watch
should
to
be
see if sell
listed as
side
a
sits
Chinese
here, and then if
military
we can flip
firm.
back below 510 for continuation, or if we can continue to push up, right? ES still holding highs, RTY still holding our pivot. Watching as we push into our NQ supply here at 45s to 70s. We need to flip this if we're going to go up, or we'll just absorb in here and we'll watch to see if we get then a pushback below. Taking off a little bit more risk. We push into 60 from our flip. You've always got something new that you're trying. It's dangerous. That's good. I'm glad. just gonna pull up my trades that you can see. I think it's important for you to understand that I'm not catching every rotation here. We're just playing off our pivots. Again, like we know this is supply, right? So I'm trading into our target. I want you to see that it is the same as what we have on screen. That we're playing it down off of our initial reaction in here. We're taking off first profit into our first pivot. You see, we're taking profit off into our 510. It's here. Just like we have labeled. I'm not lying to you here. And then we have our secondary target here into our 60 to 70, right? That is this. Just like we talked about. And then I don't play this bid. I don't play this. I've taken profit off. I'm allowing myself to get stopped out, and we immediately are then flipped and put into a position for the rotation up, playing off of our pivot, off of our 28 to 510, right? And now that this is holding, we're just watching. We've taken off risk into our known supply, right? This is our red area. That's this. And now we're watching for our reactions. If we flip back below, I'll stop, and then I'll get filled on the short for the rotation back through. But as long as we're holding here, I'll look to see if we can build and continue upwards, but that's it. I'm more than happy to get stopped out on runners and then flip long if we continue upwards. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm following my plan. I'm allowing things to play, and yeah, that's it. But we've only taken trades off of the two areas that I've marked with our profit loss thing, whatever this, what is this called? Position indicator. Everything else is just us setting up our plan. We're playing secondary reactions, not primary. I think that it's reasonable to try to be playing off of these highs on ES, but your risk is literally the lows. Right? You could try with a slight better risk if you are not as willing to play off of artist value high to POC hold for half the risk. Rotations up.
Fitch Ratings, a US private
But
credit
that's
default, broaden across sectors, rising to 5.7% in November of this year.
that's what we see with Russell continuing to maintain these lows. The NQ trade is we got to get over the supply first before we get more, or we'll just play this rotation back down. There's also the long from these lows here, or just rotations up. But this is your current risk, where we're just watching to see if we can maintain these lows. We're watching our edge here to see if we get more.
We've posted the Fitch Ratings piece on the feed for those interested.
With these holds of our highs. You as well. Welcome to the stream. You see why shorting 45 just kind of feels bad? Is that there's just like, we know that supply's here, but that doesn't mean that it's like a great entry. We're just chopping sideways. Like, we want to wait for the seller to be here, and then we want to see the look below, and then we want to see secondaries to give us the trade. Just because we know so there's supply somewhere doesn't mean that you want to sit in a position for an hour. You get me? Why do we watch for initial reactions here, and then we look for the shift of a pivot? That allows for a trade to play. I'm not trying to just be short for an hour going sideways for a potential bid through. Like, that just feels awful. So we identify where supply is, and then we identify a seller on DOM, and then we play off of that reaction, and then we have a limited amount of risk, and then we play the pivot flip, and then we play the rotation back down to where the buyers were last, right? Which is down to our 70. That's why that trade worked, and that's why we initiated where we did. I'm not looking to just sell or buy chop. If we play our pivots, we're in a good position. Yes, holding our 79s is huge for us, and we should be able to rotate up to 87s pretty freely. Once we get into this supply, we'll see what happens, but I think overall target is probably 90, just like we talked about. Again, like, your overall move, as long as this is maintaining, is bullish, right? We're holding our structure where we need to. It looks good. You've half your risk here, just playing off of the 74 to 79. This is first target, right? Your trade is now free 1-to-1. I'm going to continue to talk about that 1-to-1 idea, because this is how you're going to be able to maintain your account balance. Right now, it's actually like almost a 2-to-1, but depending where you got in. For me, it's a 1-to-1. I got in a little late. But this is supply, and we'll see what our reaction here is in 87. If we can flip it, then I'd be looking for continuation up to 90. Or sorry, 900. You can see that the supply is just sitting here on our footprint as well, right? From above. Top of our supply here for the section is into 900s, where we saw this wicking. Our bottom of our supply here is at our 87s into this wicking here. We saw this structural shift. So just watching either the shift above or the shift back below. And that'll be our two targets for right now. See what we can do. But if Russell wants to continue to hold our only pivot that we care about and have been talking about, then we can continue to have a slight bullish bias. We're still long on NQ, but we're just into our supply. There's nothing really here until we can flip and we see the rest of the market start to lead.
So keep in mind, US Secretary of State Rubio is having a year-end press conference. Bank of England says in Q1 next year, the bank will sell short maturity sector bonds across 2 auctions of £800 million, medium maturity sector bonds across 2 auctions of £775 million. They say in Q1, the bank will sell long maturity sector bonds in 1 auction across £675 million. So again, US Secretary of State Rubio is currently speaking at the end-of-year press conference. We've got the live video on the feed if you're interested.
Got any audiobook recommendations? I got a credit that's going to expire. I
US
finished
Secretary of
Project
State
Hail
Rubio
Mary.
on
That's
the
by Andy.
Russia-Ukraine war says we've made progress, but we have a ways to go. Talks to end the war are not about imposing a deal on anybody.
That's Andy Weir, right? Yeah. You read The Martian? His first book? If it's supposed, I mean, the book is really good, but yeah, the movie is definitely the plot of the book. You know, it's that is true. Yeah, no, I get you. Um, hmm. I have not read Artemis, so I don't know. Yeah, I mean that's definitely his like niche for sure. Trying to think if I know any other writers that are like very technical. The only other writer that I can think of that's just as nerdy is Ernest Cline, but it's like in a very different nerdy. Like it's like that's like the Ready Player One guy. He feels like it has a very similar writing style, where it's like kind of sarcastic and very reference heavy, or like technically. But again, that's another one that has a movie. Uh, yeah. And it's also like not very in the same vein. I don't know. I mean, I have lots of Rex, but not similar to Andy Weir. I don't know. Let me think. Hmm. You can't just introduce people to lit RPG like that. Like, you can't. Did you see what he just said? He said Dungeon Crawler Carl is not for him. And you just recommended Chrysalis. It's the same thing. It's lit RPG. He wants something technical in sci-fi, not highbrow fantasy. I was thinking Bobiverse could be good. We Are Legion. I was thinking about it, but I didn't know. It's not as technical. It's funny. It's also sci-fi. It's good writing. Good audiobook. You might like We Are Legion. That might be a good rec. It's about a rogue AI. The first book of Bobiverse is We Are Legion. It's a good audiobook. I don't know if it's directly what you want. Sci-fi wise, I don't know. It's very hard because like Andy Weir is like pretty unique. I'm trying to think. Now, if you give me a little bit, I can come up with something. It's been a very long time since I've read sci-fi. I mean, The Expanse is always like bread and butter sauce. I don't. That's like a bit more sci-fi than realistic. Yeah, I mean, Red Rising is great, but it's gonna emotionally wreck you. It's definitely taxing. The Expanse, yeah, The Expanse is great. And there's a bazillion books and short novellas. And when you're done, you can watch the TV show, which is great. Um, yeah, I mean, Dungeon Crawler Carl is great. If you like the genre, it's great. It's by far best of genre of lit RPG. But if you're like not about it, it could be really stupid. That's the best way I can put it. Oh, that's cool. I don't know how well it's gonna work in a film variant though, but the plot and the characters are so ridiculous that I don't know how well it'll translate. But regardless, it's a great series. It's very entertaining. I don't know if I'd like the series as much if it wasn't an audio, if I didn't listen to it. If I actually read it, I'm not sure if I would have liked it as
Trump
much.
says on Truth Social that the only reason our unemployment ticked up to 4.5% is because we're reducing the government workforce by numbers that have never been seen.
You didn't listen to the audio of it? That's crazy.
100% of the new jobs are in the
Wow.
private sector, and that he could reduce unemployment to 2% overnight just by hiring people into the federal government.
Gotcha. And you still found Chrysalis. That's crazy, Darian. That's the same guy who narrates Dungeon Crawler Jeff Hayes. He's just so talented. Oh yeah, Jeff Hayes is insane. He's by far the best in business. He carries. It's insane. No, he's not. He's British in the book, but he's not British in real life. He's like a half Asian white guy. Like I don't. He's so talented. It's actually insane. It's even crazier to see him switch between without any cuts. He just like goes character to character without stopping. He's insane. He's absolutely insane. So like that's why I said like if you're gonna listen to the audiobook, it's good, but I don't know how it would translate read wise, like if you were just reading it. But clearly it was still good and Darian liked it. But he definitely made that series popular.
Venezuela is the one place that doesn't work with the US on cartels.
I'm a bit worried about these highs, guys. We might get our short trade here on NQ if we flip. We're watching to see if we can absorb here still into 530, but there's potential for a flip here.
NVIDIA's transaction with Intel has been cleared by US antitrust agencies, according to the Federal Trade Commission. Again, that's NVIDIA's transaction with Intel being cleared by US antitrust authorities.
Yeah, his Chrysalis books are so good because of his narration. Oof. Why do I always do this in like 6 parts so I have to move everything over separately? Why do I do this to myself? Nikki, after your husband's done reading that, Chrysalis is definitely a good recommendation for him when he wants more, because I'm sure he'll go through the Dungeon Crawler Carl books really quick. Chrysalis is definitely a good secondary for him. And he'll be like, whoa, how do you know about this genre? See if ES can hold these highs, or if we're going to have to rotate back down. We're watching our reoffer here into 510, 530 on NQ to see if they can hold. ES is into our area where we want to see secondary buyers really show strength. Russell rejected our highs, and we're now retesting to see if we're getting our rotations back through. We want to see a pretty strong rejection here on NQ, and we need to see Russell continue to rotate down, or again, this will just be a bid, and then we will rotate. We'll go for the continuation. So I think ES is still in a pretty decent spot for longs. I think NQ is in a much worse spot for longs. We need to show a very clear flip back over 30s and show interest, or this is just going to be where sell side sits in this sweeper that we just saw for one more leg down, following our pathing, right? We need to really find drastic bids here on Russell and ES for continuation higher. Or I'd expect rotations to occur where we put in a lower high here and then we rotate back through to do something like so. So just as long as we're playing off of these, we're good. But keep an eye on this NQ. Yes. What can I? Still thinking for you, Sauce. I don't know, man. I really do think Bobaverse could be a good introduction for you. Because that's like some hard science mixed with like adventure. Like it still has like a a good narrative. I'm trying to think other people that could be good. Um, I remember you might like the Murder Bot series. That could be good. You might like that by Martha Wells. Um, are you reading or are you listening? That's a because that can change things quite a bit. My recommendations. Yeah, okay. Like Bobaverse is a great audiobook, but I don't know if it's by Dennis C. Taylor. But other like hard hmm. Like the hard science part is really interesting because the people that I always think of when it's like that is like who did Jurassic Park? Is that Scalzi? I don't remember his last name. Jurassic Park. Yeah, Scalzi or something. I remember reading that forever ago. Like that has a lot of hard science. Oh no, that's Michael Crichton. That's Michael Crichton. I'm wrong, but that's the same thing. He does a lot of hard science in his books. But Murderbot also has a decent amount of hard science in it. Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. And Murderbot won like every sci-fi award. It won Hugos and Nebulas all over the place. Yeah, I mean, some of them are kind of short. There are a lot of novellas, but like it's a. I haven't read sci-fi in so long. The Expanse is also just amazing, but it's not as hard science. I mean, I guess it is, but I don't know. I wouldn't describe it that way. Dude, if I want long series, I don't want short series. I want to be able to like binge books. I want things to be like I want as much material as possible so that I don't then go into like this drought. If I see something only has one book, I'm like, oh, I'll wait a few years. Well, let's see where they go. Because I've read so many fantasy books that like the authors just like give up. And they don't know what to do, and then I'm just like left in disappointment because they'll never finish their fucking series. Like Name of the Wind, man, will like Patrick Rothfuss like will forever just be blue balling me. Especially for audiobooks. Audiobooks are really nice. I've read a lot by James Islington. I'm not caught up, but I used to read a lot of his stuff. He's very popular on Audible. I've read all of his like the Shadow of What Was, Echo of Things to Come, The Light That Falls. I've read those. I don't know if he's read other. That's high fantasy. I don't know what else he's written though, but those are the. I think I've only read. Was it the Lycanus trilogy? I'm sure he's into like a new series now. Strength of Few. I haven't read that. Nice. Well, I really like enjoy audiobooks because I like when I'm doing other work, I can listen to them. I really enjoy that about audiobooks. As long as I'm not doing anything that's like too technical, that feels great. Sometimes you have to like pause a lot because you have to like actually fully use your brain, but for a lot of like my more like art tasks or if I'm like trading alone, audiobooks for sure. Or if I'm doing like work around the house, just put in headphones and listen to a book. Yep. Yes, I have to fall asleep with an audiobook. I have to have it in or my brain is like nonstop anxiety. There's 1,000 contracts sitting at 87 right now, or 86.75 on ES. Just our pivot above. Oh, yeah, yeah, with work, you mean? Yeah, I get you. Like, I wouldn't be able to listen to an audiobook while talking to you guys. That's impossible. But as soon as I'm not having to speak, I immediately throw on a book. Jesus. I'm sorry we're just sitting here. This is kind of lame. Just back to our supply here on NQ off of a failure for some from sell side to shift value. So we just did the full rotation back up off of the failure to shift below 30. Without that seller being able to hold there, there's just no secondary. It's the same as with always. Like we need to see the lower high, or we just are gonna do the full rotation back up. Just back into this this thick supply that's here at 45 to 73 that we identified at open. RTY and ES still holding our pivots, still long bias, but NQ is just so stuck. It's crazy. Get me out of here, man. Alright, well, we could take the time to make this a singular path, so it's easier to move over. We can at least do that. Yeah, midday, bud. Not much to do. Oh, good weekend, Kevin. Darren, when are you able to listen to audiobooks? Are you able to do it while you work? Hmm, gotcha. I was gonna say, you get through books pretty quick. But I guess an hour and a half, 2 hours every day is pretty good. Books are usually like, 8 to 12 hours. Or, some of them these days are like 24, but 24 to 48. I guess it takes a bit more time, but I don't know. Yeah. The good ones are 24 to 48. Sort of Kaigen. I don't know anything about this. This is first target here again on ES into our 87s. Next target would be a flip of our 93. NQ just in our supply, no change. But there's been absolutely no reason to be not taking the 79 to 74 trade that we have marked on screen. NQ, not a lot going on here. Very sideways. I've taken off one ES. Two runners from 79. Interesting. I'll give it a try. It's going to be a bit though. But I'll mark it. I'm currently listening to the beginning at the end, which is 11 books. I read it. I read the manhwa, but I had never actually like read the books. So I'm doing that now. Manhwas are like the Korean comics. But it was the comic was based off of the book series. I think you'd probably like it. Like,
Secretary of State Rubio says, we're not concerned about an escalation with Russia when it comes to Venezuela.
it's a super famous.
Still delivering his end of year press conference. We do still also have the live video on the feed.
Web novel that then got translated into like a ton of different mediums because of how popular it was. Which like all of lit RPG is now copied, but you know everything's copied from the Japanese anyways. Like all like the lit RPG and the reincarnation and all of like the isekai stuff. American writers are like the last people to do it. Just endorse supply here on ES. Still trying to push higher on Russell. NQ flirting with highs, which is cool. We need to show interest over this 73. This is our value from our previous wick high. Remember, 600 was an insane amount of selling that was up there. We're going to need to see what we can do. But we have to respect that 600 seller once we rotate back up. Bid is at 550. I'm so much less confident on NQ, but ES and RTY have just been holding our same pivots that we've been talking about all day. That's kept our bullish bias. But the one thing that we do have going for us on NQ that can give us hope is that we just broke our highs on NVIDIA, which can allow NQ to run. Right? We just took out our highs. So that's interesting. That allows us to trade back into this upper rotation that we were in from earlier. Took out our IB high there, holding our mid. I'm sure we're going to have to retest this supply on NQ, that we don't just like easily get through this. Probably have to build out a flag here and then go from there. If Russell can actually breach highs, I'm going to be so much more confident that we get continuation through the supply. But there's just so much up here. Like if you look on footprint on ES, like this is just so thick, man. Got so much we have to eat through. But I think 900 is still like a probably our target for end of day if we can eat through this. Regardless, like we've been able to take off risk into our target. I'd love to see this last leg though, if we can flag here. I don't know how long it's going to take. I mean, these moves have been taking forever today, but if we can, build these areas out, I'd love to see at least one more leg into that 900, especially if NQ can also, flag it out here and go for it, and Russell can breach these highs, and we can flip this as our pivot. It'll just allow for us to actually start going for these upper targets. Oh, wow.
Hello, Friday traders.
Yo,
What's up?
just hanging out up here after a big old pop.
Yeah, the first 30 look okay, but since then, because NQ rotations are
Yeah,
good range, but
yeah, they're all right.
NQ is or ES is kind of dead ski.
Mm. I'm just long off 79 on ES. Took 2 off here into 90, but I'm waiting to see if we get another 10 points or not.
I'm interested, or it is interesting that it's this kind of slow and tight before our holiday. It would feel like people are trying to get work done. I guess not. Maybe everyone's already squared up for the end of the year.
Good hold so far of our previous supply. Russell still holding. Looks fine. Just want to see if we can flip these pivots. Good absorption so far into 60 on NQ. See if we can get over this 80. It's gonna be key.
According to sources, SpaceX interviews banks for its IPO, Morgan Stanley as the top contender, according to sources. So Elon Musk's close ties with Morgan Stanley give the bank the edge in the SpaceX IPO, according to sources.
Facebook is testing a $11.99 monthly subscription if users want to share more than 2 links a month. But
Holy.
In 10 minutes' time now, at the top of the hour, Trump is due to be making an announcement on pharmaceuticals prices. We've got a live video on the calendar. We'll get it on the feed momentarily.
So, Sauce, going anywhere fun this weekend? Nice.
Pushing into second target here on ES into our 93s. Still looking for 900 for full fill. Again, I am long off 79 based off our pathing and our risk to reward model. Nothing else to talk about really. We're just waiting for us to get up there. NQ trying to flip our pivot, looking for that rotation into 600 ideally off of our hold of our lows. Yeah, again, not a lot to go off of here other than just continuation. Later, Sauce.
In 5 minutes' time now, at the top of the hour, Trump due to be making an announcement on drugs and pharmaceuticals prices. Live videos on the feed for those interested.
Hopefully that'll wake something up.
Pushing into our 600 target here on NQ. Remember, this is where that big old seller was last time. And ES now into our secondary target here at our 93.75 at this supply. Again, looking for 900s if we can flip this, but this is your secondary target here based off of our hold of 79 to 74. Again, these are our secondary targets. Very clear offer above on both ES and NQ. Watching for a Russell low here.
Shortly expecting the announcement from Trump, who's due to be speaking on drugs prices. Also keep in mind at the top of the hour, see the weekly Baker Hughes rig counts. Total rigs a prior of 548, oil rigs a prior of 414. So shortly expecting announcements from Trump and Baker Hughes numbers at the top.
Watching this is our pivot. We have to see how we react back into 50s on reoffer.
Baker Hughes total recount 542, 542. Oil recount 406, 406.
There's potentially one more leg up. I don't think I care. Into 900s, we'll see. You just need to Russell to find a low, and then you get your next leg. I don't know if I'm willing to sit here for another hour for that target, though. I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
It might even take longer the way this is trading.
But we had a very nice trade off of our hold of 79s. And just continuing up, watching our pivot here as we push down into Russell VWAP. If VWAP can hold us supportive, we should be able to get continuation for that last leg up into our like 900, 901 target on ES, into that supply high. But we need to bounce here on Russell and then get back over that 50 for us to have upside. I think we're just, you know, going to be in this downtrend back to our support from our big old pivot on Russell. That we have marked. So we're just really watching this, see if we can get back over and flip and then hold for that upside continuation. 87 still hold, which was T1. Target 1 for ES. Need to get over our 93. If we can do that, then we should be able to look up for these highs. Again, I just don't know how long it's going to take. But if Russell can find a low here, then we're in an okay spot. We have pathing set for NQ if we do flip back below. That is fully marked out of what I'd be looking for. With an understanding that until we can flip this, there's not really a great downside move. is just going to be where that bid rests for rotations back up. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the move. See if we can get back over this 50 here off of our bounce on our RTY lows. ES and NQ still holding our flip of supply. Just move your stops up. I would say that they're break even now at 79s, and again, I've taken off risk, and you can look for that secondary, that third target, but I don't know. Really not much else to do here. I'll post charts in chat, but uptrend's still intact. Again, just watch to see if we can flip back above this 50 on RTY. If we can build above 53s, you're in a good spot for continuation. And then we can look to continue to play that up. Okay. I don't know.
Enjoy your weekend.
You as well.
Hopefully we get a decent afternoon.
Yeah.
Everything plays.
Man, everything's playing. It's just taking a while. Peace.